Welcome to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton, and welcome to a little discussion segment where we are going to be looking into a man who's become a lot more talked about in recent weeks in the absence of Richarlison due to suspension, and that player is, of course, Anthony Gordon, who made a cameo appearance off the bench against Southampton and has not been seen in the first team since. It's been a very interesting, and there's been a lot of debate on Twitter, of course, about his presence or lack of it in the starting lineup, and we're just going to discuss where Anthony Gordon sort of stands among the first team setup here at Everton. I'm joined, of course, by Terry and Owen. Terry, I'll start with you on this. Do you think Anthony Gordon's? Do you think Carlo's right to leave him out of these squads, or should we be seeing more of him?
I honestly don't know. It's a strange one, isn't it? Like, on the face of it, it does seem bizarre that he hasn't got a minute of football, like, or not many minutes. He came on, didn't he, briefly? Was it against Newcastle? Southampton, sorry. He came on briefly there, but I think it's more a comment on how poorly the other, reserve wingers have come in and done within the absence of Richarlison. It wasn't like a one-off game. It was 3 games in a row that we were missing one of our starting front 3, and all, Iwobi got to go, Bernard got to go, and even Sigurdsson/Gomez got to go. So it did seem strange that all of them didn't play well at all, apart from maybe Bernard a little bit in the last game, but he wasn't very good coming off the bench in the other games. And Gordon didn't really get much of a look in. And the reason it's strange is not because Gordon's this earth-shatteringly good player, but in the post-lockdown games, that sort of 10-game run at the end of last season, Gordon, he didn't pull up trees, but he looked, as far as the eye test, I can't speak to the stats, but as far as the eye test went, he looked like the best midfielder we had at the time, because obviously at that time we were playing 4-4-2. Richarlison was up front, not considered a midfielder. So he was better than Iwobi, he was certainly better than any of the centre midfielders, and he was doing better than Bernard. So to go from having stock that high, where you're one of the more effective, more impactful midfielders, attacking influences especially, to suddenly not getting a sniff, it is strange, but I also think we may be doing that thing again like we did with Tom Davies at the beginning, where everyone cries out for him to play, and the more he doesn't play, the better he gets in people's minds. I think it's less about the injustice on Anthony Gordon than it is. It's more about, for me, this sort of comment and a cry against how badly Iwobi and Bernard and Sigurdsson and Gomez have played in that time, because no one would be calling for Gordon to be getting on the pitch if Richarlison was still playing and was playing well, or if Iwobi had come in that first game and played well for 3 games, no one would have said, "Where's Gordon?" It's just because the others haven't done it either.
But of course, the others haven't done it. So how come we haven't seen any of them since that Southampton cameo?
I wonder whether it's a training thing. He might not be doing the required amount in training. I don't want to suggest he's poor in training, because obviously I don't know whether he's good or poor or indifferent. But it might be something less obvious, than a match day thing. Because if it was just based on match days, I think anyone would say, well, he did look better than all the other wingers, but he might not be, he might not be hitting the required targets, the required level, and the others might be, but then can't translate it onto the pitch, because there is something definitely going on in training when it comes to Sigurdsson. He must be like Maradona in training to be playing all the time. So it might be the same for some of the others. Iwobi and Bernard might be unreal in training, so they get it at the end of the week. But I don't get it. I find it hard to believe. I did get it after the first game. I thought Southampton, Iwobi had been the first sub, so with Sigurdsson, the first and second subs were Iwobi and Sigurdsson in our good run before that. I thought they'll start. And then when they played really badly against Southampton, I thought, right, well, they've blown their chance now. I'd bring Gordon in, because he seems, I'm sure Owen's going to touch on it. I think for style fit for Richarlison is a bit too far, but he seems to be the most comfortable fit. He's more like Richarlison in terms of profile than the others are. Doesn't mean he's like him, but he's more like him than Bernard is and Iwobi is, because he's more direct, a little bit quicker, and he'll try and run him behind. that's not a lot. Doesn't mean it's a like for like comparison player, but he's got more of that than the other two.
You're damn sight closer.
Yeah.
The thing for me with Anthony Gordon is it isn't like Terry said, it isn't as much about Anthony Gordon. It's the way we've been playing this season has mostly been Hammer switching the ball to Richarlison, to which then goes to Luca Dean, to which then goes in the box. With having Iwobi and Bernard on there, nothing against either of them as footballers, profile-wise and stylistically, they are not what Richarlison gives Everton. Richarlison gives Everton the ball over the top. So we could have been defending like we were on Saturday, but we could have got the ball and just hit a long ball forward, and Richarlison would have chased, and now the got us up the pitch. Bernard's not going to really do that. Iwobi's not going to do that. But Andy Gordon, I probably went too far before saying he's like Richarlison. He isn't like Richarlison, but he's the same type of winger as Richarlison, even more than what Iwobi and Bernard is. So we could have possibly played him in that position. He did work hard every time I've seen him play, and he probably would have been there for the ball over the top. So for me, even though he's not perfect, and he's played well sometimes. Sometimes I've watched him and I thought he's a bit raw, but I would still rather he was playing out there than some of the other players playing out there. Not to do anything with their individual sort of qualities, but more to do with the sort of profile of how we attack. And I think that I like Iwobi and Bernard's a decent footballer, but I think they're players who are more suited to coming inside, creating, than sort of running beyond the defence. And I think for as long as Richarlison is back, so I think this conversation about Gordon is pretty. Yeah, I don't think he won't, will he? But I do think going forward, if Richarlison isn't playing on that left hand side, I think that there has to be Anthony Gordon because of what he gives us rather than anything else than individual quality. I think Iwobi's fairly good in the mid through as a number 10. I think Bernard is as well. I just don't think they're wingers, and I think that's why they look so poor every time they play, is because they're playing, for me, in a position that isn't necessarily suited to them.
Yeah. I think, for me, I think there's an interesting element to this, Will. I think I was saying in the Manchester United extra time video before, where we have this problem, I think, as Everton fans, where as soon as we have a couple of bad games and a few players play bad, we cry out for under 18 players to come in and supposedly turn everything around for us. And it doesn't always work like that. Yeah, we put a lot of pressure on Tom Davis a few years ago, and it may well have hindered him a little bit. Is Carlo possibly thinking about something like that, maybe looking after Gordon?
It's the same with Ellis Sims at the moment. Ellis Sims scored a tapper against Chelsea under 23s the other day, and now he should be our first player off the bench, apparently. For as much as I would like to see young players come through in the team, they're not all going to be ready to start games for Everton because it's just the way it is. I'm quite sceptical of how David Underworth is managing that whole setup as it is. So going from what his setup to Everton's first team, for me, it is pretty much a huge step up in terms of just quality. Even just like sort of tactically, I think David Underworth is a bit of a, I'll say he's a bad coach, to be honest, because if you're still playing Matthew Pennington and Callum Collins or whoever he's still playing in the under 23s, he's not doing a good job at all there.
It's supposed to be a development squad, isn't it?
It's a development squad, and the reason why the likes of Gordon and Sim probably aren't playing is because he's probably not developing them properly. They're not going to be ready because Carlo Ancelotti isn't a manager. I've saw people say he doesn't not like you playing young players because he could have easily played Delph left back the other week, but he started in Konku. You know, he will put young players in. He played Gordon. I just think people have got this obsession of playing for young players in every week. It's just ridiculous. It's about results, but I do agree with the Gordon one that he probably should be getting a better look than what he's getting. But it is difficult because it's a huge step up, and always proved that he can play for Everton's first team because he did well when he played, I thought. But it's still difficult, and ultimately we'll see going forward who's that first sub. But my issue isn't as much Gordon not playing; it's more to do with the lack of options that we have going forward, apart from the main three, which is Hammers, Calvert-Lewin, and Richarlison. If you take that away, we haven't really got many options.
Yeah, I think. But there is, of course, this issue that we have, like our fans are desperate to see a young player come in as soon as a player plays badly. Is that kind of pressure quite sort of negative? Maybe weighs too much on the shoulders of a young player. Do they need protecting from that, or?
I just think it's yeah, but yeah, in a way, yeah, because they're coming into like, oh, we must play X, but realistically, are they going to be any better than what we've already got in there? I mean, we're talking about Alex Iwobi. He's a £40 million player. Bernard's played for Brazil. I'm not saying that they're going to give us more than Anthony Gordon, because I've already said at the start, and because of the sort of profile. But come on, Iwobi and Bernard should be better than Anthony Gordon, really. At the
So the
stage
onus
of the
on them to be better than Gordon.
I think Carlo in training looks at her and thinks, "Ooh, I should be getting more from a Iwobi starting or Bernard starting than Anthony Gordon because of the stages of the career that are." And he's playing percentages. I think that's clear. That's how I see it anyway. But like I said, it's just different viewpoints.
And of course, the same goes for Ellis Sims, as we said before. I mean, a lot of people are like, why the hell is Cenk Tosun coming on when Ellis Sims isn't? I think that's a question a lot of fans on here will probably like to hear answered.
Well, Ellis Sims, has he been on the bench for a Premier League game for Everton? Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the bench for the Newcastle game, I think, but obviously never got on. Tosun got sent on instead.
Well,
And I
in
think
that case,
that's what riles the fans, I think, is that Tosun gets picked ahead of Sims.
Right, I understand that, but even still, Cenk Tosun cost Everton £28 million. So again, it's difficult, but I still think I would probably put Tosun on over Sims at the moment, just because of the sort of Cenk Tosun scored Premier League goals. You don't know how Ellis Sims could be pretty off the pace. So it's going with what you know, but we don't like it. But that's the way Premier League managers look at it.
Yes, I think it's just one of them. I think it's a lot of frustration at the recent performance.
It's a fan base thing, because the fan bases all over the country say we should be playing this young player from the bench or this, that, and the other. But Premier League managers are going to go with what they feel like is the safer option, and that's fine. The people are there to get results, so that's all. You can't. But I know Carlo made the comment saying he's not Everton to develop players. He's there to keep them as high up in the league as possible. People took that. I think you should be doing both, but that I'd rather Everton be top of the league with experienced players than happy around eighth, just developing players. But yeah, people see it differently.
Yeah, definitely, because you develop players and finish eighth, you end up selling them to teams who finish first.
You become Southampton, don't you? So, well, they're doing well, but
exactly. I'd rather be in Southampton's position right now. Believe me. At least the reserves can come off the bench and do a job.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that it is a thing. I think particularly at Everton, we've seen a lot of clamour for pick the kids recently, but I think that just says a lot about how our current first team squad, a lot of those have underperformed, haven't they?
Yeah.
Continue to do so.
It's to do with more of the quality of our backups more than anything. People will see Alex Iwobi playing badly, or if it was formerly Theo Walcott, and think, well, X from the under-23s can't do any worse. But I suppose if you've been out there to do a specific job, it's a lot easier to convey that to Alex Iwobi, who's played in the Champions League and Europa League finals, than it is Ellis Sims. So we'll see.
It's interesting. I think if you go back a couple of generations, and we used to be sending on 18, 19-year-olds to play in the Premier League quite regularly. Not just Everton and loads of teams, but nowadays it doesn't seem as common.
We have a bigger squad now than we did back then. Though you still gave I think you're going back to probably the Moyes era. If you gave him the squad he had now, he would still play Bernard and Alex Iwobi over Anthony Gordon, I reckon.
Yeah, easily.
So that the whole, like, the fact that we blooded a lot of kids, was that born of not having the resources?
He's just let Jeremy and Gaki go to Watford for free, promising young right back, so we can keep Aaron Cresswell. Don't let's not act like this was all out of choices, because we had a small squad.
Yeah, he used to fill his bench with kids, but he didn't rely on a lot of them, did he? Like he'd get on the bench, and then if they got off the bench, they might impress. But how many did he start? Like I remember loads of times we were crying out
Didn't
for.
really make a sub anyway. Never mind bringing on young. Right?
Yeah. To quote an Owen classic from the last quiz, Kieran Agard.
Well, there we go. Kieran Agard. He probably only played them that game.
I think that was the only game I've seen him play.
Yeah, let's not be pretending like we've been an academy of youth until now. We've got a bigger squad now, but we had zero options then. We have some now. That's all there is. If you added Pina back then, I don't know, was saying this Kieran Agard lad, if we put underneath that Bernard and Alex Iwobi would definitely still have been playing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think so. If we ask the question, should Anthony Gordon be Richarlison's deputy, what would the answer be?
I would understand both sides of it. I think personally, I probably would say yes, because I think the profile's the most similar. But I would also understand playing players who play cap for Brazil and Nigeria and played in Europa League finals over him. So it depends what the manager's looking for. But I haven't won 3 Champions League, so what do I know?
Yes, I've got to trust Carlo on this one. Teddy, what about you, mate? What would you go with? Would you play Gordon?
Honestly, I just echo what you just said. Like, I think Carlo's the right one to pick, isn't he? But of what I've seen, I haven't seen much of Gordon, obviously, in the last 3 games. But Bernard's the only one who's really made a go of it when he got a start. So at the minute, I think it's going to be Bernard.
So it's Bernard's. Yeah, so like you say, I think we've just got to trust in Carlo, and hopefully he'll be able to turn this around, Gordon or no Gordon. So there you have it, guys. Let us know your opinions on Anthony Gordon and the other kids as well, the likes of Ellis Sims and whoever else you think maybe should be coming in the team at the expense of some of our overpaid reserves. Either way, just let us know. Drop us a comment below. Give this video a like and subscribe for more content on Everton. And until next time, thank you guys for watching on the Toffee Blues.